All right, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And this time what we are doing is Be Careful What You Wish For, which is book 12. We'll be doing the book review. You could check out the audio book, which is somewhere up there. And today what we're doing is doing the book review for this book. Here I'll give you a little bit of breakdown, kind of different from what I was doing from the other two books that I did. This one I kind of wanted to give a little bit of structure, for anybody that was interested in structure. I've had a few people send me messages, hey, maybe a bit more structure. So, all right, we're going to do that. For this review, we're going to break down Samantha as the character, the three wishes, the side characters that wind up coming into play, and then we'll compare the episode to the book, actually, which I thought was pretty interesting. You'll definitely see this. And then my overall experience doing the voiceover for this. So the story follows Samantha Byrd. Samantha Byrd is essentially a tall girl, which is why she's on the basketball team. She's between the ages of 10 and 13, things along that nature, so not quite in high school yet. She's on the basketball team, and due to the fact that she's tall, she's self-admitted klutzy. That story kind of tends to play out in her abilities when she gets three wishes. A bit of a klutz and isn't quite thorough with what she wants, which I thought was pretty interesting because her character at the end of the day is someone that wants to enjoy being part of the group, part of people. You know what I'm saying? And she definitely falls into a position where she's not the most popular person, but she does have direct contact with quote unquote popular people, more or less, because characters like Judith and Anna are not necessarily popular, at least from what the book says, but they are pretty good when it comes to basketball, and they are her main antagonists. Judith definitely is her main antagonist, if you will. Some of her flaws are that she's klutzy, she isn't quite thorough. She panics a little bit as well, and she's very down on herself. She aspires to be a decent basketball player. Sometimes there is part of the book where she says that she's not really that good of a basketball player to begin with, and she's only on because she's tall. But she wants to be liked and respected, which is something that I can respect, because that's what she is trying to do. And those will fall into what her goals are and what her aspirations are. Now, what I want to do is get into the three wishes, and there will be spoilers from here on out because we get more than three wishes. We wind up getting a fourth wish. Her first wish is to be the best basketball player on the team. Her second wish is that only Judith would disappear. Her third wish is for everything to be brought back to normal, but that Judith would be her very best friend. And then at the end, it's she wishes she had never met Clarissa, who is the witch lady in question, and that Judith had instead met Clarissa. So the first wish, essentially, we're introduced to the character, and her first wish is for her to be the best basketball player on the team. Now, we do get a little background. She does play a little bit of basketball at home. The issue now comes is her first wish turns against her in a sense that now she's the best player on the team, but everyone else winds up getting quite sick and doesn't feel well and can't even put the ball into a basket, can't even run a decent play, can't even dribble the ball. When she makes her first wish, she wishes that she was the best player on the team, and by virtue of making that wish, she's the best player, but because everyone else sucks, she doesn't get better. The second wish is she wants Judith to disappear, and in the book, the issue is not only does Judith disappear, but also everybody else in town disappears. And there's a great scene where she's kind of pedaling through town and trying to go to school, and everybody is just gone. It's just a ghost town. And she goes to the middle of town. She goes to see what's going on. No one's there. She goes to school. Nobody's there. And I believe she winds up going to Judith's house, and she sees that no one is there. And then eventually she winds up meeting Clarissa again, and she says that her third wish is that she wishes everybody to get back together, everybody to come back, but that she wants Judith to be her best friend and to be amazingly, I don't want to say infatuated, but worshipped, I think would be a better way to put that. She wants Judith to worship her, which is That's where the hilarity kind of ensues at the end, because there's one scene where she's like, "Oh, hey, why don't you come over after dinner?" And then completely forgets about it because they go to her aunt's house. And then Judith shows up at her house and sneaks in, and she's like, "Judith, get the hell out of my house!" She's in her room. So I thought that to be quite funny. And then at the end of it all, she winds up getting a fourth wish because Clarissa, the witch lady, was like, "Oh, hey, you know what? I apologize. Let me give you a fourth wish. I feel bad. You know, you helped me out. What's your fourth wish?" And eventually, the fourth wish is Clarissa had never met Sam, and instead, Clarissa had met Judith instead. And then we wind up getting a very, very fun little twist at the very end of the book, which is that Judith's wish. It's a line that Judith says all the time in the book was, "Why don't you go fly away, bird? I wish you would fly away, bird." And Judith makes the mistake of saying that to Clarissa as her first wish. Samantha winds up turning into a bird because there's a part where she says she sees a worm and she eats it. It's quite disgusting. And then she starts to flap her wings. So essentially, Judith wasted her first wish saying her line that she normally says, which is, "I wish you would just fly away, bird." And Samantha winds up turning into a bird, eating a worm, and flying away. And that is the biggest plot twist of the entire book. Now, what I want to do is get into some of the side characters, which low-key prop up Samantha a little bit. Corey, her brother, they do have a little bit of interaction. They play basketball together, and he winds up mopping the floor. There's a nice little fake out where her first wish, technically her first wish that she doesn't tell to Clarissa, is that "I wish you were 1 foot tall." And there's a nice little fake out because they have a dog named Pumpkin, and she's like, "Oh shit, did I just make a wish that my brother would be 1 foot tall?" Come to find out that it's just her dog that winds up coming out. But her brother's there as I feel like most of these characters wind up having a sibling of some kind, or a good portion of them at least. So her brother is there to kind of be the little bit of a nuisance and the thing to distract her, you know? Her mother also there. Her mother kind of adds in the sense that she's the mother figure, of course. There's a certain part towards the middle endish of the book where, especially during her third wish, where they go to her aunt's house because her aunt was sick, and that is her mother's sister. So that's one thing that's over there. She does have a mom and dad, and that winds up coming true when I give you my comparisons between book and episode. But her mother's there as kind of just a mother figure. Her father's there as kind of just a father figure. Judith, who's the main antagonist, who's Judith's main enemy, if you will. Judith is really good at basketball. Judith has a buttload of makeup on. So does Anna. You know, and these are girls who are maturing a little bit faster, whereas Samantha could be considered a little ho-hum and true to her age and not necessarily trying to grow up too fast. But by virtue of being tall, the tallest girl in her grade, she dresses quite modestly. So Judith is, she also winds up being very important because that's her third wish that she makes is she wants Judith to be her best friend and to worship Samantha. And we wind up seeing that Judith, because of that wish, she becomes grossly obsessed with her. Likes her shirt, wears her hair the same hairstyle, and some other characters that I did want to mention in this book that are somewhat important is the nurse. Corey and Samantha go see the nurse because after the first wish, people are sick. So as Samantha's trying to understand what the hell's going on, Corey realizes, oh, well, we can ask the nurse because the parents have to call the nurse to let them know that the kid is going to be sick from school. So Judith and Anna and all the other girls on the team, they're sick. So their parents would have to have called out and let them know our kids are sick. We don't expect them to come in today. And they wind up being sick for a week. So there's a part where they go to see the nurse, and the nurse is like, "Oh yeah, they're gone. You know, they're not going to be in for a week because they're sick." You know, and we have Ellen, who's the coach of the team, and Ellen is typically your coach, your rah rah sis boom ba type of character. She's there for any sort of basketball stuff, and that's basically about it when it comes to Ellen, and Corey, which is her best friend, a boy best friend, if you will. And he's there as kind of fodder, as kind of conversation starter and ender. She also confides in Corey about the issues that Samantha has going on. Now, what I want to do is compare the book and the television episode, which are two very, very different things, almost entirely different in some cases, outside of character names and things along that nature. So here's a list. In the episode, the episode starts with the basketball practice, whereas in the book it starts with just an introduction to her and her being at home and things along that nature and kind of going into her life. Corey is black, and they don't really mention in the story that Corey is black, but in the episode he seems to be ambiguously black. She has an accident at basketball practice, but that's never really mentioned in the book. At basketball practice, she's climbing up a rope or something like that in the episode, and in the book, she gets kneed in the chest, and that's the accident. In the episode, she finds a necklace at school at the gym, whereas in the book, she winds up meeting Clarissa, and Clarissa has a crystal ball. And how she meets Clarissa in the episode, she kind of is walking and bumps into her. Whereas in the book, she's riding her bike and pedaling, and she winds up meeting Clarissa. So, two very different things. How she meets them is quite different. There's a necklace, and then she bumps into her in the episode, versus she's riding her bike, and she winds up meeting Clarissa somehow and helps her, right? Also, the second wish, where she wishes Judith would disappear, everybody just disappears in the book. And she has to recant that wish. Whereas in the episode, the episode kind of speed runs everything, within 20 minutes, everybody winds up turning into flies. So this is quite the contrast. It winds up taking place at school. In the book, it's more so her making the wish, and then she sees the results of a wish gone wrong. And like I said, she has to go through society, go to school, go through the middle of town, things along that nature, and she sees everyone disappear. So there's no flies in the book, and there's flies in the episode. I noticed in the book, there is a point where she calls Judith, and she's like, "Hey, are you okay? I'm just, worried about you." Or there is a part where she calls and then picks up the phone, Whereas in the episode, that doesn't happen at all. There's no consulting Judith while sick, and they don't acknowledge the first sickness angle in the episode. So that's the compare and contrast. Also, something in the book that I thought was kind of cute is they mention a lot of Doc Martens and Reeboks and 17 magazine. And in the episode, the shoes are kind of just like, "Oh yeah, I like your shoes," as kind of a throwaway line, Also, there's a certain point in the episode where Judith, when she's obsessed with Samantha, where she sends her a bunch of messages on her phone, and it's almost like Samantha doesn't want to answer her, whereas in the book, she tells Judith, "Oh, hey, I'm going to my aunt's house because she's sick. When I come back home, maybe we'll study together, algebra or some shit like that, in the book, she goes to her aunt's house, comes back home, and then she hears a bunch of messages. In the episode, it's almost like she's refusing to pick up the phone for her because she's become too obsessed. There's a point within the episode where the mom hears commotion happening in Samantha's room. She's like, "Who are you talking to?" And Samantha's like, "Oh, no one." Whereas in the book, that's her dad that asks, "Hey, who are you talking to? You can't be talking on the phone at this late night. You have a curfew." So that's also a little bit different. And one of the biggest things is a complete change. They completely omit the twist at the end from the episode. Judith's wish at the end in the episode is for her to be famous and everyone to know her, and they make a statue of Judith. Whereas in the book, it's Judith wishes for Samantha to fly away bird. Very, very different. Very different. The episode omits the Samantha turning into a bird, and it just adds that they want Judith to be the most popular person and very well known. They erect a statue. There's two old people sitting on benches who are like, "Oh my God, is that Judith?" So I find those two things quite interesting. And I wanted to kind of just give my voiceover experience doing the full audiobook for this. It was quite interesting getting to this sort of character because it is a female protagonist, and I wanted to understand the character from a sense of this person is going through something. This person is getting to a certain point in their life where things are about to change for them internally and externally as well. And at the end of the day, Samantha wants to be liked. She wants to be respected and appreciated, and she wants to go about her schooling and be okay. That's something that I felt really came out in Samantha's character as I was trying to do the voiceover for this character, and her circumstances and her situations. I didn't quite understand why the second wish was an issue, because she wished for just Judith to disappear, and essentially what you have is the entire town disappearing. That completely threw me for a loop, because I just didn't understand how you could have those two issues. But the point of the story is that you have to be careful what you wish for, because it winds up getting twisted and she's not very specific. That's how I'm essentially led to believe. I found, reading through the book and doing the voiceover, you can understand Samantha's character. And I like that her secondary characters, the people that she connects with, almost everybody, every character that she connects with and relates to, they wind up working well to help prop up Samantha. She is quite self-doubting, which is something I don't really connect with, but at least I was able to understand and move that character forward. So I hope I did that within my voiceover, my read-through. Overall, a great book. I really dug it. Quite a good read, and I connected quite well to the book. I would highly recommend it. Definitely up there when it comes to one of the top tier Goosebumps books of the original 62, right? And I think this is still early on within the writing process. This probably came out in 93, if I'm not mistaken. R.L. Stine is, he's making these stories and he's putting in a really good effort, because he's probably writing 2 to 3 books a month or things along that nature. So quite a good read. I quite enjoyed it. I did the audio book and I found it very pleasing. And now doing this review, I can, as I'm looking back, comparing and contrasting, I had a great experience with this book. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope you enjoyed the Goosebumps review for book number 12. Be careful what you wish for.